Jai Jai Shri Radheshyam and welcome. Today we will speak about the Sahajiyas. But no, I will not be pointing Vaishnavas like to say with the name of Sahajiyas, or I will not point Ishkon as a Sahajiyas since they are pretending to be Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but they have no Diksha connection to the original lines of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, to the original Parivars. So I will not speak about Sahajiya on a despective way, but I want to make justice on the real concept of Sahajiya Vaishnavism. To understand this, first we must to clean up our minds, our heads of so much propaganda, offenses and insults to what was in some part of the Gaudiya movement and Vaishnav movement. It was part of the culture. But how we get there, what happened back in time, is something extremely interesting. And yes, it was a natural thing to happen previous and in the time and post Chaitanya era. They had an important role in the development of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It's not that we are following Sahajiyas or that there are actually Sahajiya movement inside or a Sahajiya cult inside Gaudiya Vaishnavism. No, it's not. They disappear. But it was part of a natural transition on history that it was needed in order to open the doors for many other different religions and sects. And with that open door, they start to come inside the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Listen, historical background, origin of Sahajiya cult. The Vaishnava Sahajiya is an obscure religious cult of Bengal and is little known to the literate people of the modern age. It is because the educated community scarcely keeps contact with that class of people who live in the lower strata of the society. The religion of the Sahajiyas was prevalent and still continues among the class of people who are looked down upon and neglected by the upper and educated classes of the society. As a result, the philosophy, culture and mode of practice sadhan padhati of this religion are very obscure. The cult of the Vaishnav Sahajiyas once exerted a great influence on the religious life of the general people of Bengal and Orissa, Jagannath Puri. This religious culture was once held in high esteem as embodying the secret wisdom of the Sahajiya sadhakas. It has been degraded to one of the obscure religious cults of Bengal. Now, the root of the Sahajiya Vaishnavism, or Sahajiyas, is rooted deeply into the Buddhism. But inside the Buddhism is a big area of tantrism. So the Buddhism that created or they turned into this so-called Sahajiya Vaishnavism, where Sahajiya Buddhist and the Sahajiya, the Sahajan doctrine, came from the Tantras. So it was this mix of cultures of Tantrism and Buddhism. Nowadays, we know that cult like Tantrism and Buddhism together are working perfectly fine in the hands of the Buddhist lamas of Tibet. Tibetan Buddhism is a tantric area or approach to the Buddhism. The practice, pranayama, rituals, etc. All of that is part of the tantric, yogic, tantric philosophy. This philosophy, when get in touch with the Vaishnavism in Orissa and Bengal, they start to accept Vaishnavism, but they have their own background of tantric practice. So many people will think, because this is what I thought back in time before studying properly what Sahajiyas really are. I thought that they were like some kind of rascals who are having sex with everybody, and basically it's a religion of people having sex each other, the guru with the disciples and these kind of things. But actually it's not. And if the guru of the Sahajiyas to say is accused to be a Sahajiya because he have sex with the disciples, then we see exactly the same in ISKCON and in other so-called Gaudiya cults. We have seen this, and it does not make them Sahajiyas. Those are people who simply cannot control their mind. That's all. Their senses. They have no control over their bodies. So that's all. That is not the qualification of a Sahajiya. Indeed, the Sahajiya doctrine is giving the tool to fully understand and to control the sexual desires. As any tantric sect, after a long sadhan process, mind control, fasting, japa, mantra, and so more and so forth, there was a time where the Sahajiya Sadhaka, not all the students, just a very specific students who are showing special skills like very advanced sadhan, the guru can choose them to go to do that kind of ritual where a man will find a woman on the same platform, same level, and by order of the guru, they will have some special sadhan practice based on tantrism that they will use their sexuality to awaken, finally awaken kundalini, and with that to achieve the superconscious. May that kind of superconscious is the same than Brahmagyan. I will give it as a hypothesis. Maybe it's the same state of consciousness. But I want to clarify that by studying Sahajiya culture, and I want to make this very clear, I am not a follower of any Sahajiya culture. Sahajiyas also are not created to be dressed as a woman, Saki Veki. It has nothing to do with this. Sahajiya culture were yogis who accept the supreme truth of Radha and Krishna as the Swayam Bhagavan, the supreme reality. But they have their own sadhan to achieve superconsciousness. We cannot say, being extremely honest and mature on the path, we cannot say that only Gauranga's path is the only truth. This is ridiculous. We cannot say that. Gauranga's path, Nitai Gauranga's path and philosophy, Siddhanta, is my truth, yes. Is my only truth, yes, but I cannot say that my truth is the truth for everybody. Other people, other cults, other religions, other gurus will have different philosophies. As Sridhar Swami, the favorite writer on Srimad Bhagavatam for Gauranga Mahaprabhu, or to say Sankaracharya, Sridhar Swami's line, they are total different paths, different philosophies than Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And other Vaishnavas, they have different philosophy as well. To quote one, Vishnu Swami, Pushti Marg, they have a different approach. So I cannot say that this is the only truth. It's my transcendental truth, but it does not rest the truth that other acharyas can have and others masters can have. That can be very sweet as well. So the Sahajiyas use sexuality in some point of the practice, of the sadhan. But not all of them were recommended or were guided to get into that specific sadhan. So this misconception on Sahajiyas having sex with anybody or undressing as a woman, this is all propaganda, because the studies are showing, the books are showing, the history are showing that those were not the practice of the Sahajiyas. Indeed, in somehow, it's even admirable that tantric yogis and Buddhists were so impressed by the Gaudiya Vaishnavism that they jump and they quit their own religion to join the movement of Gauranga. Now, we can say, and I can quote several textbooks from the Sahajiyas, but mainly they are in Bengali or in Orissa, and will not make any justice since majority of people cannot read those languages in English speakers, right? But one of the main books studied by the Sahajiyas was the Gita Govinda. Gita Govinda, you know, this book was the favorite book of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Indeed, when he was in the Gambira Lila, Jagannath Puri, Svarup Damodar used to read this book almost every evening night to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. That very book was one of the main books of the Sahajiyas. And I will say for the third time, sorry to be heavy on this and to put so much stress on this topic, but based on the Sahajiya sadhan philosophy, no all the practitioners were into the sexual practice, because for that you need a very high level of development as a yogi. So please clear the doubt and the mind on this topic about sexuality. Actually, the main goal of the full story of the sexual tantrism is exactly to get over this need that is pumping till the last days of any human being, the libido, the sexual energy. is there. The sexual desires are there in adults, in teenagers, in young people, in old people. Devotees worldwide have this problem. Devotees worldwide from ISKCON, Gaudiya Math, and any other line, traditional line of Parivar, mainly they are having these problems about sexuality, about repressed sexuality. So actually there is something missing. That is how actually you or anybody who is a brahmachari, listen, ask this to any brahmachari that you know. What if you have some close relationship, friendship? I know this because I was a brahmachari. I live in brahmachari ashram. I know many brahmacharis in my life. And since I am teaching deep meditation, dhyan, pranayam, and some yoga practice, some of them have been asking me. I have been teaching to a bunch of them in my many years of being alive here on planet Earth. I have been teaching some special breathings for this kind of problems. And the main problem that brahmacharis are facing, is not money struggle. The main problem is the nightfall. Nightfall? Yes. Sexual desires, sexual dreams in the nights. That's why when you enter almost all the brahmacharis' rooms in ISKCON, they have Hanuman. They say, no, the demigods, but they have Hanuman because this is the god of the brahmacharis. To keep their power means their sexual energy, to not have night ejaculations and sexual desires, sexual dreams that make them to lose the power, lose the brahmacharya. Yes, when you ejaculate in night as a brahmachari, yes, you lose the energy. Some people is trying to justify and say, no, if it's in a dream, it doesn't count. Yes, it counts. Because it's showing that inside that brahmachari, that person inside their mind, even outside is living as a celib, like a monk. Inside the heart, inside the mind are all the same desires as any other karmi, any other materialistic person. So there is not clear, and that's why I stopped being a brahmachari myself. Long ago, yes, but I stopped because of this. Because there is not any practice that we can do as a Gaudiyas, as far as I know, and I have been investigating, there is no any practice for controlling your sexual energy. And how it will be released, since you have no knowledge how to transmute, how to turn this energy upwards inside yourself, Kundalini, basically. Since there is no education on this topic, what is the result? That as a brahmachari, time to time will suffer the brahmachari the nightfall, and after a few years of contention, the brahmacharis go and get married, or in the worst scenarios, they turn into homosexuals, or even worse, they assault women, sexually assault, rape, violation. And this is the case, for example, you can read so many cases from ISKCON, from the time of Swami Bhaktivedanta, Kirtanananda, and all that group of New Vrindavan. There is it. Yeah, they're brahmacharis outside, but inside, no. The desire is still there, and they are growing and growing until explosion. The explosion came, and they turned crazy. So exactly this was taken very serious by the Sahajiyas. And nowadays, the Tibetan lamas, a thematic that I know because I studied them, they have this practice, this Sahajiya practice, where they achieve such a level where they can literally banish their sexual desires. And if there is any sexual energy, this libido, they turn inward, upwards. Boom. And that energy is traveling through all the chakras in the spine until it gets to Sahasrara chakra in the crown of the head. When that energy can move upwards, then there starts the super consciousness actually. From a mechanical point of view, you can achieve it like that, or you can achieve it by kripa. That Krishna will say, oh, my devotee is chanting my name and chanting, so okay, a little kripa, boom, and you get Brahmagyan or God conscious. Yeah, you perceive God in absolutely everything. Well, if the kripa is not coming to say, because kripa is kripa, you cannot pay for kripa to say, hey, give me kripa. No, kripa is coming what they want. But there is the other way of making it happening, and it is through practice. And this practice is not only on the Sahajana or Sahajiya way of making it, like through sexuality. You can make it just through pranayam, so through special secret breathing techniques and meditation, you can make this happen. So this actually was practiced by the Sahajiyas. This was part of the sadhana. So it has nothing to do with dressing as a woman or having sex with every single person you see around, It's not about that. Otherwise, I don't know, everybody was a Sahajiya in Western countries, or in Western countries, everybody's a Sahajiya, also in India, because sexuality now is much more free than before. So it's not about that. They had big secrets for this big problem that monks nowadays are facing. They don't know how and what to do with their sexual energy, because the energy will be there. You cannot stop it. You cannot block the sun with one finger. It's a saying, right? You cannot turn off this energy. It's not possible. You can do so much, or people can do so much seva, running here and there, but in one moment you will stop running. It can take 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years. In one moment you have to stop, because the body is body. The body will be tired. You need to rest, and then boom, the dreams are coming. So every single yogi, counting of course Bhakti yogis, because we are yogis still, of course we are Bhakti yogis, must learn about these topics. How to transmute, how to turn your basic energy into consciousness, pure power consciousness. And I can tell you that power is immense. It's immense. So it is possible. So forget about Sahajiyas being that kind of cartoonish idea that we have been fed with, that are people dressing like a woman and having all kind of immoral life. No, it's not about. So only a few of them, very chosen ones, they walk that path of the sexual rituals. But even that, it was just for a short period of time in the process. You can read this about Tantra. In Tantras, this also explained the same. It's just a period of time, and after that, you keep progressing, and all this get out of your path. So less propaganda, more information. This will make a better world for every single sadhaka. Now, who turned Buddhist monks in Bengal, Orissa, Bengal, who turned into Vaishnavism like this by preaching the message of Nitai Gauranga? He turned Buddhist monks into Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Who it was? Virachandra, the son of our Nityananda Mahaprabhu. Sri Paritosh Das, Hindu University, Department of Bengali Faculty of Arts, in his book Sahajiya Cult of Bengal, writes, Birbhadra, the son of Nityananda, was a clever organizer. He did not fail to notice the importance of incorporating the Vajrayan Sahajan Buddhists of Bengal into the Vaishnava community, introduced by his father, to make it strong and popular from all points of view and attract more adherents thereby. So he converted a large number of tantric Buddhists and brought them into his fold. It is said that the number of conversion of such Buddhists was 2,500, including both men and women. The conversion took place at Karda in the district of 24 Parganas of Bengal. From the above investigation, we may safely arrive to this conclusion that after the death of Chaitanya Dev, the Bengal Vaishnav of Nityananda Sampradaya group, the Nityananda Parivar, the decaying Tantric, Vajrayan and Sahajan Buddhism of Bengal, and the Tantric-minded Vaishnavas of Shrikanda were mixed or fused into one group, holding Nityananda to be their foremost guru and guiding inspiration. These three different groups share a common and similar view toward Tantra. Therefore, the theology of these three religious sects were easily assimilated, and thus emerged out of them a new religious movement named Vaishnav Sahajiya under the banner of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Another important thing I want to mention here is that at the time the Buddhist sect or religion was persecuted. Therefore, many Buddhists also became followers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. They turned into Vaishnavas in order to avoid this persecution. So there we have some important context. And speaking about the philosophy of the Sahajiyas, I want to read the following text from the book Obscure Religious Cults as Background of Bengali Literature by Shashibhushan Dasgupta, PhD, lecturer, Calcutta University. Published by University of Calcutta, the 1946. We're speaking about academic material, all right? This is not just a simple guy who's writing things out of his faith. So the psychological aspect reads, of the Sahajan sadhana of the Vaishnavas grew mainly with the philosophy of Radha and Krishna and the eternal love between them in the land of eternity. It is therefore necessary first of all to elucidate the philosophy of Radha Krishna and their eternal love as conceived by the Vaishnavas. According to the philosophical and theological work of Bengal Vaishnavism, popularly known as Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Radha is nothing but the transfiguration of the infinite potency of love contained in the very nature of Krishna. We call this Hladini Shakti, the ultimate being. It is held may be conceived in three of its states, either as the unqualified Brahman or as the Paramatma, the indwelling principle of all beings, or as the Bhagavan, the active and qualified God. So, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Krishna's Bhagavan possessed three powers. Svarupa Shakti, the power which he possessed by virtue of his ultimate nature. Jiva Shakti, or the power through which all the beings are produced. And the Maya Shakti, through which evolves the material world. This Svarupa Shakti of the Lord has again three attributes. The attribute of existence, Sat, Chit, Ananda. The potency of the three attributes acts like three powers in the nature of God, which are known as Sandhini, the power of existence, Sambit, the power of consciousness, and Hladini, the power of bliss, which is of the nature of infinite love. The transfiguration of this power of bliss or love is Radha, and as such, the very being of Radha is already involved in the very nature of Krishna, and the two are one and the same in the ultimate principle. Why then the apparent separation of Radha from Krishna? It is for the self-realization of Krishna. God has within his nature two aspects, the enjoyer and the enjoyed. And here we have an interesting insight of what was the point of view of the Sahajiyas regarding to Radha and Krishna. Reads, the religious attitude of the Vaishnava poets of Bengal, as represented in the innumerable love lyrics composed by them, was not, however, exactly the same as that of Chaitanya. The attitude of the Vaishnava poets was Shakibhav rather than Radhabhav. Sri Chaitanya placed himself in the position of Radha and longed with all the tormenting pangs of heart for union with his beloved Krishna. But the Vaishnava poets, headed by Jayadeva, Shantidas, and Vidyapati, placed themselves rather in the position of the Sakis, or the female companions of Radha and Krishna, who did never long for their union with Krishna. So the Sakis, actually, based on this point of view, on this sect, were never looking to have relation directly with Krishna. This is very close to the Manjari Bhav, actually from the original Gaudiya Vaishnavism. This eternal lila is the eternal truth, and therefore it is this eternal lila, the playful love making of Radha and Krishna, which the Vaishnava poets desire to enjoy. If we analyze the Gita Govinda of Jayadev, one of the favorite books of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, we shall find not even a single statement which shows the poet's desire to have union with Krishna as Radha had. He only sings praises of the lila of Radha and Krishna and hankers after the chance just to have a peep into the divine lila, and this peep into the divine lila is the highest spiritual gain which these poets could think of. Think about that. Remember that the Sahajiyas were Vaishnava who previously were Buddhists, tantric Buddhists, who turned into Gaudiyas. Do you see the connection? I hope to not offend anybody with my video, with this conversation, with this reflection. The main point is to help newcomers to not commit offense with this kind of word like Sahajiya, this is Sahajiya, that is Sahajiya. This is ignorance. That attitude is ignorance. First, mind your own business, and then if you have time, when you achieve perfection, try to correct everybody else. Before that, not necessary. And if you haven't been achieving perfection, or people haven't been achieving perfection, then their words are just reflecting the inner emptiness. So let's forget that word and let's put it in the proper context. The Sahajiyas is a almost vanished sect from Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Some moment it happened in some part of the story. But it was necessary because those tantric sadhakas and those Buddhist monks, it was the bridge to bring them to the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna. Mahavira Radharamana ki jai, jai Nitai, jai Gaur, jai jai Shri Radhe Shyam.